Hi guys, Rob46 here, welcome yourselves back to MotoGP 21 on the Xbox Series X. It is time for our 100% race distance race around Aragon, because we're going to be talking about the Aragon GP, which happened yesterday. So we're going to be running through all three classes, Moto 3, Moto 2, and of course, MotoGP as well. We've got a lot to get through in terms of a few changes with some riders and things like that, but like I said, we're going to start with Moto 3 and work our way through to MotoGP. So, Moto 3, John McPhee has moved, or only for one race he's been moved up to Moto 2 with the Petronas team to try out in Moto 2 to show what he can do and potentially hopefully get a ride for next season. So John McPhee not racing in Moto 3. He was replaced by Asman, who we will speak about in a bit. So yeah, it's Moto 3. It was a pretty hectic race, taking the championship into consideration as well. It was a very, very eventful race. You couldn't really make it up. It was a pretty big battle at the front. You had it was about 9 riders at the beginning of the race fighting for the lead. You had Pedro Acosta, Dennis Onchu, Guevara, Garcia, the 2 Leopards of Artigas, and Foggia as well. Foggia was a little bit further down. He was towards the back of the group, the beginning of the race. But Dennis Onchu, he got a good start, and after a few laps he managed to get into the lead, which he then led for quite a bit of the race. Every time someone came past him, Foggia came past, and Onchu managed to get back past him. And Onchu just showing a really good composure. He seemed a lot less aggressive than what he usually is. We've seen Onchu in previous races where he seems quite aggressive, but he seemed to have maybe smoothed it out a little bit around Aragon, and it seemed to be working really well for him. And yeah, he was looking really, really quick, looking like the man to beat. So he was out front for a lot of the race. Pedro Acosta was just trying to keep tabs on his main championship rival, Sergio Garcia. He was basically trying to stay literally directly behind Garcia for most of the race, and towards the end of the race he obviously tried to get in front. But quite a smart race, although Acosta did try to pull off some really dodgy moves. Especially into the reverse corkscrew. He was rubbing people and barging people, and getting his nose chopped off as well. So it wasn't, considering he is the championship leader, he was making some really dodgy moves, which could have potentially caused him to crash and caused him to lose a lot of places. So yeah, not the best of overtakes, but he was there or thereabouts. We know how good Pedro Acosta is already. He's already announced that he is moving up to Moto 2 next season. So there's kind of a little bit more added pressure on Acosta now, because he's literally got this one shot at winning the Moto 3 championship. And if he doesn't, then he's going to go up to Moto 2 without having won the championship in Moto 3. So I think now maybe a little bit of desperation is going to creep into it, because he wants to move up to Moto 2 as the reigning Moto 3 world champion. But whether he does or not, we'll have to wait and see. But back at the front, Dennis Onchu looking pretty good. Garcia as well, he was looking pretty good, fighting amongst everyone. You had Sasaki up there as well. Darren Binder, he led for not a long time, but a lap or two he was in there, but he did actually fade towards the end of the race. He got shuffled back through the pack. Again, he made some really tough overtakes, but yeah, ultimately didn't quite have the pace today, and he got shuffled back towards the back of the group, which was unfortunate for him. So a bit further down, Joan Mazia, which was a really weird race for him. You may remember last year they came here twice. Mazia won both of those races on the Leopard Honda, but on the Red Bull KTM, it just doesn't seem to have the pace that he had on the Honda. Whether it's the, he's struggling to adapt to the KTM compared to the Honda, but yeah, he was well, just outside the top 10, fighting with the likes of Yamanaka and Suzuki. Fellon was looking really good. He was ahead of his teammate Suzuki for a bit of the race, but unfortunately he extended track limits a bit too much, and he had to have a long lap penalty. And he literally got shown the long lap penalty on his dash maybe 2 corners before where the actual long lap loop is, and as soon as he saw it, he took it straight away. So yeah, fair play to him, but he was looking pretty good in the race, but just a shame that he couldn't stay within the track limits and stay with his teammate as well. So there was quite a few people who crashed out. Getting towards the end of the race, Pedro Acosta again trying to make one of those really aggressive overtakes. He tried to get up the inside of Artigas. He lost the front and completely wiped out Artigas, taking both of them out. So Pedro Acosta DNF'd, and Artigas, unfortunately, nothing he could do. He didn't know what was happening. Just had a Red Bull KTM launched at him. So he went down as well. So both of those were out. Philip Salacci had a massive moment on the opening laps, but saved it, but couldn't quite save it a bit later on. He went down. Gabriel Rodrigo. It's becoming a bit of a thing with Rodrigo, and losing the rear, literally coming out of the final corner, which is where we are now. Just too much throttle. Rear came round, high-sided him out, and unfortunately for Romano Fenati, he had to take evasive action, go off track into the gravel, and lost a lot of time and a lot of position. So that was pretty much Fenati's race over and done with. For Gabriel Rodrigo, he was down. Carlos Tate as well, he ended up crashing out. We've already spoken about Pedro Costa and Artigas. Lorenzo Fellon, unfortunately, he fell off. After taking his long lap penalty, yeah, he ended up going down. And Jeremy Alcoba, he also went down with 1 lap to go. But also on the final lap, Sergio Garcia, he also went down into turn 12, which is what we'll be coming up to very shortly. The next proper corner we come up to, a horrible corner. I hate Aragon anyway, but into this corner, he lost the front and down he went. He did get back on, but he did not score any points. So it was very much, he needed to take full advantage of Pedro Acosta being out, but unfortunately he met the same fate and went out himself. So Pedro Acosta, who could have potentially lost a real good chunk of points, got away with it. So yeah, like I said, Garcia did remount, but he did not manage to score any points. So back at the front, it was between Dennis Foggia and Dennis Onchu, the two Dennises, and into the last lap, it was Onchu who managed to regain the lead off of Foggia. But coming out of the bus stop chicane onto the back straight, Foggia, he was maybe 2-3 tenths behind Onchu, but we know how quick those Leopard Hondas are, and also Foggia managed to get a really good run out of the chicane, a little bit better than Onchu did. Obviously, he also had the benefit of slipstream, which Honshu didn't. Dennis Fodget managed to slipstream perfectly, get alongside and passed Honshu even before the braking zone for the last couple of corners. And he just managed to stay in front. Honshu, who's been wicked through the last couple of corners all weekend, he was literally stuck to the back of Fodger like glue through the last couple of corners, but just could not get past by the line as I make a mistake there. Easily done at that corner. So yeah, Dennis Fodger went on to take the win, very closely followed by Dennis Honshu. Sasaki came home in 3rd place. And then Grivera, who was very good in the race, he managed to make up loads of positions. He came home in 4th position. Antonelli was 5th, Mino 6th, Darren Binder was 7th, Stefano Neppa was 8th, Suzuki was 9th, then you had Mazia in 10th, Yamanaka 11th, Fernandez in 12th, Asman, the standing rider for John McPhee, was 13th, so got a few points there. Romano Fenati did manage to salvage 2 points in 14th place after running off, avoiding Gabriel Rodrigo. And Riccardo Rossi scored the last points in, or the last point in 15th place. And then you had Kaito Toba in 16th, Yuki Kuni 17th, Sergio Garcia remounted and finished in 18th ahead of Koffler, Izdaihar and Sura in 21st. So that was Moto 3. What has that done to the overall championship standings? Well, let's go through them quickly, the top 9. So, Pedro Costa still has a 46-point lead over Garcia. No change there, with both the top 2 having a DNF. Well, Garcia didn't DNF, but he didn't score any points because he remounted. So, yeah, Pedro Costa still on 201 points. And Sergio Garcia still on 155, 46 points behind. A whole Valentino Rossi, as I nearly crash. Dennis Fodger has now moved up to 3rd in the championship. And he's closed the gap down to 58 points. So, you know, there's still a lot to do for him if he wants to close that down even more. But we'll have to wait and see. It's his home race next at Mazzano. Romano Fenati drops from 3rd to 4th. He's on 134 points, 67 behind. Mazia is still in 5th on 111. He's 90 points behind. Darren Binder's in 6th on 104 points. He's 97 points behind. And you've got Antonelli in 7th on 98 points. He's 103 behind. Sasaki is 8th on 87 points. He's 114 behind. And Dennis Honshu has moved up 6 places because of that 2nd place. He's now 9th on 73 points, 128 points behind Pedro Costa. So that was Moto 3. Now, we're going to go on to Moto 2. And there was a lot of crashes. I think about 10 crashes in total. So a lot of crashes. It was definitely a race of attrition. But, yeah. Sam Lowe's on pole position. Got a fantastic start. He seemed to have sorted out his starts now as Sam, which is good to see. He led into turn 1 and he actually broke away from everyone by about half a second by the end of the first lap. As we briefly mentioned in when talking about Moto 3, John McPhee had moved up to Moto 2, basically taking Jake Dixon's ride in Moto 2 as Dixon takes his 2nd race in MotoGP. So John McPhee making his debut in Moto 2. Yeah, so Sam Lowe's got a cracking start, half a second lead from Remy Gardner in 2nd place after the first lap. Raul Fernandez, who was injured, he broke a bone in his hand training. So yeah, in a lot of pain, but he was in 3rd place at the end of lap 1. But he very, very quickly made a move on his teammate, Remy Gardner, and got into 2nd place. And then he managed to hunt down Sam Lowe's for the lead, which was really interesting to see. And we saw Fernandez close in on Sam and pass Sam, and then pull away from him. So Fernandez, once he got into the lead, he managed to just pull away and build up a nice lead, well over a second from Sam Lowes in second place. Remy Gardner, who was in third, was over 2 seconds behind Sam, but actually dropped back a little bit and found himself fighting with the likes of Ayogura, Navarro as well, and you also had Hector Garzo as well fighting there, and Gardner was fighting with them for a few laps, but he did eventually manage to get back through into third place and kind of pull away from those guys whilst they were fighting amongst themselves. B. Sikorsky, he had a double long lap penalty for jumping the start, but unfortunately for him, he eventually ended up crashing out of the race anyway. Thomas Luthi as well ended up crashing out of the race. Xavi Vierge, who was pretty high up, he was inside the top 8 in the opening laps of the race. He unfortunately ended up crashing out of the race as well. So Hector Garzo and Ayogura were fighting, and Hector Garzo made a bit of a mistake in the reverse corkscrew. Went in a bit too hot, too much front brake, too wide, and he lost the front and he went down and out of the race. Albert Arenas also lost the front and crashed out. He was pretty frustrated. He'd been looking pretty good as Arenas all weekend, and it was unfortunate for him that he ended up crashing out. Obviously the reigning Moto3 world champion, but just starting to get the grips with the Moto2 machines. Definitely better than the previous Moto3 world champion, who also crashed out of the race, Lorenzo Dalla Porta, as we just seen Zarco crash behind me. Marco Bezzecchi, he was not having the best of weekends. He was inside the top 8, and he ended up crashing out as well. Not good for him. That was pretty much his championship, well, hope's gone pretty much. I mean, mathematically, yeah, he still can, but it's going to be very, very difficult. And yeah, he DNF'd, as did Bo Bensnyder as well. He crashed out. Sam Lowes, second place. He unfortunately ended up crashing out of the race as well. We're still not done. Bulliger and also Chantra both crashed out of the race as well. So there are a lot of DNFs in there. Like I said, we're in the double figures for DNFs in Moto2. But back at the front, Raul Fernandez had a nice lead. He got it up to well, about 6 seconds, and Remy Gardner, who was in second place, he had over a second over the next group, who was it was the fight of the speed ups, or the Bosco-Oscuro chassis, between Navarro and Canet. Canet putting some moves on Navarro, but Navarro hanging in there and fighting back through to get back in front of Aaron Canet. Also, Digi Antonio, he was making his way through the pack throughout the race, and Aldeguer as well, who was looking pretty good as well. Ayogura unfortunately dropped back after his little battle with Hector Garzo and Remy Gardner. He dropped back a bit further down the order, unfortunately for him. But yeah, John McPhee, he was in pretty good standings. He was, yeah, he was like 20th, 21st, but he was fighting with the likes of Siren and Xavi Cardalus, who, let's not forget, have been on Moto2 machines all season. So John McPhee not doing himself any disservice at all in Moto2. Yeah, he probably would have liked to be in, a bit further up the order, but he hasn't done any testing on a Moto2 machine or anything like that. So his first taste of Moto2 was literally on Friday. So all things considered, pretty good from McPhee. And he kept it upright as well. He finished the race, which, as we've already been through, a lot of them did not. So Raul Fernandez went on to take the victory from his teammate Remy Gardner in second place, and that also cemented the team championship. The Red Bull IO team did take the team championship. Augusto Fernandez, he managed to fight his way through the order a bit earlier on as well. Managed to get himself up to third place, and yeah, looked pretty good. He was also fighting with Jorge Navarro as well, which I did forget to mention. But yeah, Fernandez managed to hang in there and take third place. So both Fernandez is on the podium. Jorge Navarro was fourth place ahead of Aaron Canet in fifth. Digi Antonio was sixth. Aldeguer was seventh. Ayagura eighth. Arbolino was ninth. Schrotter 10th. Simone Corsi 11th. Marcos Ramirez was 12th. Roberts was 13th. Bobier 14th. And Vietti was the last point scorer in 15th. Then you had Barry Boltus in 16th. Gonzalez in 17th. Manzi 18th. Sira in 19th. John McPhee 20th. And Cardelus was the last finisher in 21st place. So like I said, a very, very hectic Moto2 race in terms of the attrition rate. But the championship now has come down by 5 points. Obviously, Raul Fernandez could have really done with Sam Lowe staying in second place, but unfortunately wasn't meant to be. So Remy Gardner leads the championship on 251 points. He has a 39-point lead over his teammate Fernandez in second, who was on 212 points. Marco Bezzecchi is in third. He's on 179 points, but he's 72 points behind. Sam Lowe is still in fourth place. He's on 127 points, 124 points behind. Augusto Fernandez is he's up to fifth now. He's on 108 points, 143 behind. He's just got ahead of Aaron Canet now, who's dropped down to sixth on 103 points, 148 behind. Digi Antonio is seventh on 101 points, 150 behind. Ayagura 8th on 95 points, 156 points behind. And Marcel Schrotter is 9th on 80 points, 171 behind. So yeah, we briefly spoke about Aaron Canet and Navarro fighting. They are going to be teammates next season in the Pond squad as well. So they're both going to be on Kalex chassis next season. So I think they're going to be a really strong team next season. But we'll have to wait and see. Right, it is MotoGP time. So what's going to happen with this race? Maverick Vinales is back. Obviously, we had all that shenanigans happen between himself and Yamaha, which then caused Vinales to basically get the sack with immediate effect. Vinales had announced that he'd signed for Aprilia for next season. He'd done a test on the Aprilia at, I think it was Mazzano. And then he announced that he was going to be racing at Aragon. So Vinales was racing on the Aprilia at Aragon, and all eyes were on him, and maybe didn't quite go the way he was hoping, but he's got to get used to riding a V4 and the characteristics of a V4 as well. So yeah, he's going to have to change and adapt his riding style to suit a V4 better than what he's used to. So it was Ducatis who were looking very, very strong with the likes of Jack Miller and Bagnaia. Bagnaia on pole position set a stunning lap in qualifying. Looked absolutely magnificent. Didn't put a wheel wrong at all in qualifying. Almost looked like the perfect lap. Marquez, he was looking okay throughout the weekend. I mean, we knew he had good race pace, but he was getting very, very frustrated with the crashes that he was having. He's now had 18 crashes this season. And let's not forget he missed the first 2 rounds as well. So he's had a lot of crashes, and I think they're just starting to frustrate him now because he's already said his body is not letting him ride how he wants to. So crashes which, you know, we would normally probably see him save, he's not able to save them anymore. And yeah, he is going down a hell of a lot. But yeah, it was a pretty decent race actually. Bagnaia off pole, got a really good start and pretty much, you know, in the lead straight away and led from the front. You had Jack Miller up there as well. Marquez, he managed to come through from 4th place on the grid and managed to slot into 2nd place with Miller in 3rd. And both Alex Marquez and Jake Dixon unfortunately crashed out on the first lap. So not a good race from them. Obviously, Alex Marquez was on the podium at Aragon last season on the Repsol Honda. But unfortunately this season he crashed out. And Jake Dixon didn't do himself any favours either with you know, trying to put himself in the window for that second satellite Yamaha ride for next season alongside Andrea Dovizioso. But yeah, not good. But Dixon had been plugging away very, very nicely all weekend, and you know, at the very beginning of the race, he was actually in front of Rossi. So, yeah, not a bad start to the race. Just obviously didn't really go to plan for him. I think he actually crashed out on the second lap of the race. But yeah, he crashed out at the beginning anyway, and that was his stint in MotoGP done. Unfortunately, will he get another chance? I hope so, because I think obviously, with pre-season testing and everything, I think he would soon adapt to a MotoGP machine. We just seen Mir go into the back of me and crash out. Back at the front, Bagnaia and Marc Marquez started to ease away from Jack Miller, and you know, they soon got their gap over 0.6, 0.7, 0.8 over the first few laps. Miller trying his best to hold on. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be, and he couldn't quite do it. Alicia Spargo got a good start as well. He was just behind Jack Miller, and Joan Mir as well. He was starting to edge forward as well. Cal Crutchlow, who had, you know, been going pretty well all weekend, didn't qualify. Well, he didn't qualify as bad as he did in the previous race, but you know, in FP3 he was looking pretty good. FP2 he was well inside the top 10. In fact, I think he was 3rd quickest in FP2, which was good to see. But yeah, unfortunately the Yamahas didn't quite work around Aragon. Quartararo, he did manage to qualify 3rd, but yeah, something weird was happening with the Yamahas, and all of them were having rear grip issues in the race. Even Quartararo was suffering quite badly. You could see him, you know, in the first part of the lap. In fact, even in the first 3/4 parts of the lap, Quartararo was quickest out of anybody, but he was losing about 0.3, 0.4 in the last sector. And the last sector is literally the back straight and the last couple of corners. So yeah, it was weird. The Yamahas were very, very weak through the last couple of corners, even though technically they treat it as one corner. But yeah, the Yamahas struggling with getting the grip down through there, and we saw Quartararo lose quite a few places there, and down the back straight as well. Obviously the Yamaha not the quickest thing in a straight line. So yeah, Quartararo, unfortunately for him, he did start going backwards, and he was being beaten up with the likes of Mir, come past, Alicia Spargo, Miller, Bastianini as well. He qualified really well with Bastianini. I think he was about 10th place. He was straight through to Q2, and he was having a cracking race. So good stuff from the rookie. Brad Binder also got past Quattararo. Ika Lecuona, he got through. In fact, at one point, Ika Lecuona was top KTM, but unfortunately for him, a bit later on in the race, he did make a mistake at the reverse corkscrew and ran on, losing a bit of time and a few places. So he did, lose quite a few there. Jorge Martin, a little bit quiet this weekend. Expected a little bit more from Jorge Martin, but sticking with Pramac, Zarco has been suffering from arm pump, and he was really struggling in the race. You could tell he was nowhere near the front. Even in free practice and qualifying, he was struggling. And the weird thing is, he rode to Aragon on an old Ducati, and he done quite a few miles as well, which wouldn't have helped his arm pump. If anything, he needed to just try and relax his arms a bit. But no, a bit of a strange one that. But yeah, it is what it is. I think he's going to have surgery very soon. Back at the front, Marquez was stalking Bagnaia literally for the whole race. He was, getting close to Bagnaia, and then he dropped back a little bit, only by, about 0.4 of a second. Basically just trying to cool his front tyre, because once the front tyre overheats on the Honda, that's when problems start. I mean, problems start on any bike if you overheat the front tyre, but on the Honda especially, it becomes very difficult to control that front end. So Marquez knew when to back off, and then he knew when to push again. And he was keeping Bagnaia honest, but give Bagnaia credit, he was unrattled and he didn't put a wheel wrong throughout the whole race. A bit further back, Mir was making his way through. He managed to get the better of Alicia Spargro and Jack Miller as well to get up into third place. Jack Miller actually ran off track at one point as well. That's when he lost a couple of positions to Mir and Espargaro. Like I said, Bastianini, he was having a cracking race. He was well inside the top 10 for the rookie. And Quattararo was getting beaten up back down to 8th place. So, at the back as well, you had Luca Marini, and he eventually got passed by his brother Valentino Rossi for 19th place. Viñales not having the best of times. He was down in 18th place, but I think once Viñales gets a bit of pre-season under his belt and gets the testing under his belt and kind of adapts to the Aprilia a bit more, I think he will get a bit higher on the Aprilia. But I think in qualifying he kind of showed that he was getting a little bit frustrated already. Obviously qualifying very far down, he didn't get through Q1 to Q2. He was well towards the back and shaking his head when he crossed the line in qualifying. But this is what I was saying, he was getting frustrated at Yamaha, but he's going to be moving to a bike which has never won a race. And when he moved to Aprilia, they hadn't even been on the podium. Obviously they have now with their first podium in the MotoGP era at Silverstone. But I was just thinking, if he's getting frustrated with a race winning bike and a championship leading bike at Yamaha, what's he going to be like on a bike that's never won a race? So yeah, if he's already starting to get frustrated, that doesn't bode well. But like I said, he just needs to be patient, and he needs to just try and learn, use the remainder of the season as just tests. It's just that he can adapt to the bike better, obviously give feedback to the team as well, and obviously try to improve the bike for next season. But like I said, as I go down, I lost the front there. I saw that the gap was just starting to come down a little bit to Jack Miller, and I was pushing a bit too much into that corner and unfortunately lost the front. So yeah, back to Vinales. I think he will get better, but he's just going to have to be patient with it. Back at the front, Bagnaia and Marquez were still out front, first and second. Marquez still shadowing Bagnaia. And then with 3 laps to go, it was time to take the gloves off. And Marc Marquez decided to make a full-on assault on Bagnaia. 7 times Marquez tried in the last 3 laps. 7 overtakes he made. And all 7 times, Bagnaia had him covered and managed to get him back. Basically, Marquez was, going up the inside of Bagnaia, but rushing in a little bit too hot. Bagnaia was almost inviting him in, leaving the door open, kind of half expecting Marquez to have a go, which he did, but he just couldn't quite get the bike stopped and turned enough to close the door on the exit. So Bagnaia played it very, very smart, completely outsmarted Marquez, and when Marquez went wide on the exits, Bagnaia just squared the corner off, shot the Ducati out, and made a fantastic race of it, just overtaking him every time. And then down into turn 12, into the reverse, no, not the reverse corkscrew, sorry, but turn 12 a bit later on, that blind left hand, almost a 90-degree left-hander, which he will be coming up to very soon. Again, this is another place where Marquez got up the inside, but ran in a bit too deep, where Bagnaia managed to get back through. So yeah, we're going through turns 10 and 11 very soon. So turn 12, which is the next proper corner we're coming up to next. 11 is this kink. Turn 12, Marquez on the final lap decided to take one last attempt, overtaking Bagnaia, which he did, but he didn't stop for the corner. He ran off track, and Bagnaia just carried on as normal. And Marquez was too far back at that point to be able to attempt an overtake into the last couple of corners. So Bagnaia has taken his maiden victory in MotoGP. It was only a matter of time. Yes, he should have had one last season when he was leading at Misano and then crashed out of the lead. But he's finally broken that duck, and he has won his first ever MotoGP race. And I don't think it's going to be his last either. We go to Misano next, and the next 2 races, to be fair. You can expect Bagnaia to be very, very strong there. So, we could see Bagnaia win at Misano at home. Marc Marquez came home in a good, solid second place. It's good to see Marquez finish more towards the sharp ends and stay on the bike as well. Obviously, like I say, he's been getting very frustrated with the amount of crashes he's having, which obviously doesn't play well on his mind. So it's good for him to get a good, solid second place under his belt. Joan Mir came home in 3rd place. Wasn't able to make any impressions on the front 2. In fact, he was quite far behind, over 3 seconds behind, as I make a complete hash of the reverse corkscrew. Alicia Spargaro, he came home in a good, solid 4th place off the back of taking his first podium in the MotoGP category last time out at Silverstone. He backs that up with a solid 4th place. Jack Miller, after having that off-track excursion, finished in 5th place. Bastianini, the beast, like I said, he had a fantastic race and he finished in 6th place, which is great for the rookie. And he's getting there. He's adapting well to MotoGP machine. Brad Binder took top honours for KTM in 7th place ahead of Fabio Quartararo, who salvaged at 8th place. Damage limitation worked pretty well. Jorge Martin was 9th, Nakagami was 10th, Ika Lecuona, who was up to 5th or 6th at one point, unfortunately, after making that error at the reverse corkscrew, he ended up down in 11th place. Alex Rins was 12th after qualifying down in 20th place. He won here last season, but could only manage 12th place this time. Paulo Spargaro was 13th, Miguel Oliveira is 14th, and Danilo Petrucci was the last point scorer in 15th place. And then you had the rest of the field with 16th place going to Cal Crutchlow, Zarco 17th, Maverick Vinales 18th, Valentino Rossi in 19th, and Luca Marini in 20th place. And only 2 DNFs, as we've already spoken about, Jake Dixon and Alex Marquez. But that was the race. Fantastic end to the race, and yeah, so happy to see Bagnaia take his victory. And he's actually closed the points down a tiny bit on Quartararo, but not a huge amount. But yeah, Quartararo still leads the championship on 214 points. He's still got a nice lead over Bagnaia in second on 161. Mir is third on 157. Then you got Zarco in fourth on 137. Miller is fifth on 129. Brad Binder sixth on 117. Alicia Spargo is seventh on 96. Maverick Vinales in eighth on 95. Oliveira is in 9th on 87, and Marc Marquez is now in 10th place on 79 points. So that was MotoGP. I was getting so close towards the end of this race to getting Brad Binder, but I just needed one more lap, but unfortunately finished in 3rd place. I don't like Aragon. I'm glad that race is over with. I probably enjoyed it a bit more than Silverstone, but yeah, that's it, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed it. We go to Misano next for the next 2 races, which I am looking forward to. Unfortunately, the first race I should have been going to in person, but obviously with travel restrictions, I'm not able to, which sucks. Would have been nice to have seen Rossi race at home in his last season, but not meant to be, unfortunately. But yeah, that's it from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel for more content. I shall see you guys in the next video. Stay safe, wash your hands, and look after yourselves. I'll see you guys next time. See you.